Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condemns Pahalgam terror attack, says those behind the heinous act will not be spared. Home Minister Amit Shah heads to Srinagar. At least a dozen injured in a terrorist attack in the popular tourist town of Jammu and Kashmir. Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted with a 21-gun salute welcome in Jeddah. His two-day official Saudi Arabia visit set to strengthen cooperation across multiple sectors. US Vice President Vance says US-India can accomplish much more together, and President Trump wants both US and India to grow. Hamas delegation heads to Egypt's Cairo to discuss new ideas for Gaza truce. Israel demands Hamas be disarmed, which the group rejects. And Russia ready to consider a proposal by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for a halt to civilian attacks by both sides, but adds no concrete plans at the moment. At least 12 tourists were injured in a terrorist attack in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam on Tuesday. The incident took place in Baisara Valley, where unidentified gunmen opened fire on a group of tourists visiting the area. The injured were evacuated with the help of locals and airlifted by authorities. All have been admitted to the Pahalgam hospital and are slated to be in a stable condition. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephonic conversation with Home Minister Amit Shah on the Pahalgam terror attack and asked him to take all suitable measures. He also asked the Home Minister to visit the site. Later, Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrote on social media platform X, and I quote him here, "I strongly condemn the terror attack in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir. Condolences to those who have lost their loved ones. I pray that the injured recovered at the earliest. All possible assistance is being provided to those affected. Those behind this heinous act will be brought to justice. They will not be spared. Their evil agenda will never succeed. Our resolve to fight terrorism is unshakable, and it will get even stronger." Unquote. Home Minister Amit Shah left for Srinagar to hold an urgent security review meeting with all the agencies. Taking to social media site X, Home Minister Amit Shah wrote, and I quote him, "Anguished by the terror attack on tourists in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, my thoughts are with the family members of the deceased. Those involved in this dastardly act of terror will not be spared, and we will come down heavily on the perpetrators with the harshest consequences." He further added that he briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi about the incident and held a meeting with the concerned officials via video conferencing. Security forces meanwhile launched a search operation following reports of gunfire. The incident comes amid a surge in tourist arrivals in Kashmir ahead of the annual Amarnath Yatra beginning July the 3rd. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also took to X and wrote on the terror attack in Pahalgam. He said, and I quote him, "Deeply anguished by the news of terrorist attack in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, this dastardly attack on innocent civilians is an act of cowardice and highly reprehensible. My thoughts and prayers are with the innocent victims and their families." Unquote. And DD India's Shabir Dar joins us from Srinagar on the story. Shabir, give us the latest about the terror strike and the condition of the wounded tourists.
Yeah, the condition of the wounded tourists is reported to be stable, and few are critical, which are being treated in the Government Medical College, the premier medical facility in District Anantnag. And as we speak, the Home Minister Amit Shah is about to land in Srinagar anytime soon, and he's going to hold a high-level security review meeting to find the answers about today's terror incident, in which reportedly 12 tourists were injured, and one, as per the sources, has lost his life. So the area has been cordoned. The Baisaran meadow in Pahalgam, which usually remains, if the huge rush of tourists remains there, and the terrorists, attacked a group of tourists this afternoon, which resulted in this, the injury of tourists. The sources tell us that the injured count and the death count may rise because the tourists have indiscriminately fired on the tourists who were there in the meadow enjoying their trip, and the injured were immediately evacuated by the local tourist operators who are there, and later the administration chipped in. They pressed the helicopter services to transport the critically injured to the hospitals in Srinagar and in Anantnag. So remember, this is a big attack on the tourism because Kashmir is seeing a rush, a huge boom in tourism from past few years. Last year, the Kashmir recorded around 3 crore tourists in Kashmir, and this year also it has picked up very well. So somehow the common people and the people associated with the tourism are saying this attack as an attack on the tourism industry, because tourism industry in Kashmir is providing job opportunities and livelihood to lakhs of youth. And that's why we are seeing the condemnations are pouring in from across the sections of the society, be it the politicians, the chief minister, the LG, the religious leaders, the businessmen and the students, and more importantly, the common people on the streets, on the ground. They are condemning it in an unequivocal voice, urging the administration to bring the terrorists and those responsible for these attacks to the book.
Okay, thank you very much, Shabir Dar, for reporting on this story from Srinagar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday landed in Jeddah on a 2-day state visit to Saudi Arabia at the invitation of Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman. Prime Minister Modi was welcomed with a ceremonial 21-gun salute on his arrival. Prime Minister Modi was warmly received by Deputy Governor of Makkah, Prince Saud bin Mishal bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Saudi's Commerce Minister Majid bin Abdullah Al Kasabi, and Mayor of Jeddah Saleh Ali Al Turki. Earlier, in a special gesture, Royal Saudi Arabia fighter planes escorted Prime Minister Modi's plane as it entered Saudi airspace. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with Crown Prince and the Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, will co-chair the second leaders' meeting of India-Saudi Arabia Strategic Partnership Council. Later, upon arrival at the hotel, chants of Modi, Modi resonated as the Indian diaspora welcomed Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Indian community gave a traditional and vibrant welcome to Prime Minister Modi. The song "Ae Watan" resonated as Prime Minister witnessed the performances of the diaspora. And for more perspective on Prime Minister's visit to Jeddah, we are joined by DD India's correspondent DV Vinod from the commercial hub. Vinod, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Jeddah, and this is the first visit by an Indian leader to Jeddah in over 4 decades. Tell us the significance of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Saudi Arabia's commercial hub, that is Jeddah.
Well, Tanvi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival in Jeddah today marks a historic and a significant moment in India-Saudi Arabia relations, as he becomes the first Indian Prime Minister after Indira Gandhi to visit the commercial hub. This is akin to India's Mumbai, where most of the trade and financial activities happen, and this is also the gateway to the holiest sites of Islam, Makkah and Medina. So this visit is far more than a symbolic gesture. It reflects a strategic recalibration of India's priorities in the West and deepening of partnership with India's one of the longest standing allies in this region. And it holds immense economic, culture and geopolitical importance, considering the fact that this area has been volatile for quite some time, with attacks by Hamas in Israel and the war in Gaza and the political situation in Syria and the non-state actors chasing down ships in the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. And this also aligns with Saudi's Vision 2030 of economic diversification strategy and India's strategy of Atmanirbhar. And as early as last week, Hajj quota for India was recently revised just on April 15. This can be seen as a diplomatic victory for India, and Prime Minister is here in Jeddah just after a week of our Hajj quota has been released. The visit is anchored by the meeting of the India-Saudi Strategic Partnership Council, the Leaders Summit, which is underway right now at the Royal Palace in Jeddah. To speak more about the importance of this visit, we have to know the history of the India-Saudi diplomatic efforts. It started as a modest beginning in 1947, and first time the king of Saudi Arabia visited in 1955. Then in 2016, Narendra Modi's first visit, and later this was elevated to a strategic partnership in 2019. From there onwards, there has been a slew of efforts in both diplomatic, political, and economic fronts to upgrade this relationship, and it became a win-win situation. For example, if you consider the defense relationship, the first ever visit by the Royal Saudi Naval Force Chief of Staff happened just last year, and from India's side, it happened only in 2020. And first ever India-Saudi joint land force exercise Tansik 1 was conducted in Rajasthan just last year, and Saudi Arabia participated in Tarang Shakti 24 multinational exercise also in last year. And speaking on the one more important thing in defense relation is that after 12 years, our MOS defense has participated in Saudi's defense expo, and there has been a memorandum of understanding and weapon exchange program of the tune of $250 million was signed, which shows that Saudi Arabia is fast becoming India's one of leading consumers of India's defense supplies. So speaking on the cultural front, yoga is gaining popularity in this part of the world. In fact, Nauf al-Marwai was a Saudi citizen who's instrumental in legalizing yoga in this part of the world, was awarded Padma Shri, India's 4th highest honor in the year 2018. And last year, in the International Day of Yoga, a women instructor was there at the forefront demonstrating yoga. And a slew of economic measures, cultural and people-to-people connect are happening between these two countries. And that's why this visit is so important to us.
Thank you very much, D.V. Vinod, for joining us on the story. We leave it here at the moment. You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. US to impose heavy tariffs on solar panel imports from Southeast Asia. And Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi to visit China ahead of a third round of nuclear talks between Tehran and Washington.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. US Vice President J.D. Vance, who is currently in India on a 4-day visit, arrived in Jaipur on Tuesday for a day-long trip. Vance addressed a gathering in Jaipur and emphasized the growing importance of US-India relationship. He said that US President Donald Trump is committed to fostering closer ties between the two countries with the aim of ensuring mutual growth and prosperity. He said US and India are working together to finalize a trade deal soon based on certain common goals.
Message to their friends, to countries like India, is to tell them that they are not allowed to grow. Well, President Trump rejects these failed ideas. He wants America to grow, he wants India to grow, and he wants to build a future with our partners all over the globe. And this is the world that America seeks to create with you. We want to build a bright new world, one that's constantly innovating, one that's helping people to form families, making it easier to build, invest, and trade together in pursuit of common goals.
In a dramatic escalation of its trade policy, the United States has announced plans to impose massive tariffs, some as high as 3,521% on solar panels imported from Southeast Asia. The move, aimed at countering alleged Chinese subsidies, comes as President Donald Trump nears the 100-day mark of his second term.
The US Commerce Department on Monday unveiled plans to slap tariffs of up to 3,521% on solar panels from Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam. The move targets alleged transnational subsidies and dumping, primarily linked to Chinese manufacturers rerouting operations through Southeast Asia. Among the firms named are Chinese solar giants Jinko Solar and Trina Solar. These duties, if finalized, would come on top of a sweeping 10% blanket tariff imposed by President Trump earlier this month. The final decision rests with the International Trade Commission, which is expected to vote on the tariffs in June following year-long anti-dumping and countervailing duty investigations filed by US and international solar companies.
President Trump's priorities are clear. We will pursue a foreign policy that makes America safer, stronger, and more prosperous, just as we would expect you to pursue policies advancing your citizens' own interests and your national interests.
In response, the Chinese government has reportedly urged the Japanese Prime Minister to coordinate a joint stance against Trump's expanding tariff regime. The White House has aggressively revived trade war, using tariffs as leverage. The latest measures are part of broader efforts to shrink the US trade deficit and pressure foreign competitors. The solar sector alone saw $11.9 billion in imports from the targeted countries in 2023. Meanwhile, Trump's tariffs continue to trigger concerns worldwide, with financial markets across various global pockets witnessing heavy selling. Market anxiety spiked on Tuesday, sending gold prices to an all-time high of $3,500 an ounce before settling slightly lower, driven by Trump's tariff threats and a fresh verbal attack on the Federal Reserve. As Trump pushes with bold protectionist measures, the ripple effects are being felt far beyond Washington, from clean energy to pharmaceuticals, and from Asia to Europe. The economic landscape is being rapidly reshaped. Bureau Report, DD India.
The ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict shows no signs of slowing despite intensifying diplomatic efforts. Russia has expressed willingness to consider Ukrainian President Zelensky's proposal to halt attacks on civilian infrastructure. Meanwhile, representatives from Ukraine, the UK, France and the US are set to meet in London on Wednesday to discuss a ceasefire following last week's talks in Paris.
As Russia and Ukraine continue to bomb each other's territories, efforts to find a diplomatic solution are intensifying. As both sides face mounting pressure to show progress towards ending the conflict, Russia has stated it is ready to consider a proposal by Ukrainian President Zelensky to halt attacks on each other's civilian infrastructure. However, Kremlin said there is no concrete plans at the moment for talks between Russia and Ukraine.
With desire and openness of Ukrainian side, certain steps should be taken to remove legal obstacles in the way of such contacts. President Putin repeatedly talked about his readiness to settle the conflict in the way of negotiations. There are no concrete plans. There is President Putin's confirmation to discuss this matter, taking into account experience of the Easter ceasefire.
Representatives from Ukraine, the UK, France and the US will meet in London on Wednesday to continue talks on ceasefire negotiations in the ongoing conflict. This follows last week's meeting in Paris, where US Secretary of State Marco Rubio outlined Washington's plan to end the war.
Today was almost entirely dedicated to working with partner in various formats. We are preparing meeting for Wednesday with partner from Europe, the UK, France, Germany, and from the United States. These meetings can bring us closer to a ceasefire and a real lasting peace. Ukraine maintains its proposal not to strike at least civilian infrastructure, and we are expecting a clear response from Moscow.
Both Russia and Ukraine have accused each other of violating the energy agreement and Easter truce, continuing strikes without cease. Meanwhile, Russia has advanced in the border region, recapturing new areas. On Tuesday, Ukraine said Russia launched 2 guided aerial bombs on Zaporizhia, killing a woman and damaging residential buildings and infrastructure. Bureau Report, DD India.
Iran will discuss the US-Iran talks with China during the foreign minister's visit to Beijing, the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said on Tuesday. Relations between the two countries can play a constructive role in any development, said Ismail Baghei. He added that fundamental demand in any negotiation is the lifting of illegal and oppressive sanctions. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will visit China on Tuesday ahead of a third round of nuclear talks between Tehran and Washington scheduled for Saturday in Oman. And sporting stars from around the world converged in Madrid on Monday for the 25th Laureus World Sports Awards. There was a strong tennis presence ahead of the ceremony, with Carlos Alcaraz, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, Boris Becker and Stefanos Tsitsipas appearing on the red carpet. Brazil's World Cup winning captain Cafu also featured and gave his backing for Carlo Ancelotti to take over as the coach of the Brazilian team. World's most decorated gymnast Simone Biles was later named the Sportswoman of the Year, while Swedish pole vaulter Mondo Duplantis captured the men's honour. Widely regarded as one of the greatest pole vaulters of all time, Duplantis won a second straight Olympic gold medal in Paris, breaking his own world record for the 9th time. Meanwhile, Brazilian gymnast Rebecca Andrade won the Comeback of the Year award after completing her inspirational return from career-threatening injuries at the Paris Games to win the gold medal in the floor competition. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.